Hello everybody and welcome to Absolute Sim Racing for the 11th round here at Suzuka for the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series. And what a venue this is. This is the Suzuka circuit, such a historic venue, more popularly known of course for its races in the Formula 1 calendar. However, there won't be any Formula 1 action this year with the ongoing global circumstances, meaning that the race this year has had to be postponed until next, but I'm sure we'll be all excited to see that when it gets underway. But for now, we can tide ourselves over with a wonderful world of sim racing that doesn't have these sorts of complications of races being postponed, suspended. We can just get right in on the action. And to join me for all of the action here this evening is the wonderful Dan Handover. How are we doing today, Dan?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Apologies, I am feeling a little under the weather today, which is why I may sound a little bit more lethargic than I normally do. But that is not going to detract away from the racing that we would normally be having and how excited I probably will be getting for this event. It's just going to be fantastic. Suzuka is a great circuit, and I'm very, very excited to see these cars around here. It's a bit of a longer track for these cars, to be fair. But as we have seen, I mean, again, we've seen this time and time again in qualifying. Look at how close everyone is to one another. Sudden was currently leading the way, but look at Dan Webster. I mean, 600ths of a second in a 1 minute 52 lap. It's almost like Sebring all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. So shall we go on board in this qualifying session for a flying lap of the Suzuka circuit with Simon Edwards. He's coming up to the start-finish line now. And we'll run flat out through into the first turn. Two double right-handers to kick off the lap, just coasting it in nice and easily. Then trying to breathe it in, get on the throttle gently as well to power it through turn two and then through the S curves. Such a wonderful lap, but you need to get the flow right. One mistake early on can really ruin any of your chances later on. Taking a very nice tight line here, hugging it close. Getting on the throttle a little bit later, but then that opens up the corner for these long left-handers before you come, of course, into the Degner curves. just absolutely send it in. Use the camber of the curve, also the exit you can use, and then again another bit of camber on the inside for the second right-hander. Allows you to carry a lot of speed, and then try and pick your braking point if you can into the hairpin. It's so difficult because you're turning through the right-hander while trying to slow down for the left. Gets a nice exit though, does Simon, and then hugging this inside line all the way through this long sweeping right-hander on the run into turns 13 and 14. Spoon curve. Look at this, using all of the downforce on his radical to good effect, trying to pick a nice late apex, which he hooks up as well. A little bit twitchy, but seemingly okay on the exit for Simon Edwards. Then has another long run before he comes to one of the most famed corners in all of Japanese track racing. 130R, just absolutely sending it through flat out. What a feeling that must be in the cockpit for Simon Edwards before coming into the Casio triangle. Avoiding the curbs through there, potentially making sure that the car is nice and steady. Look at that correction on the throttle on the exit. What will it be for Simon Edwards? Is this an improvement on his qualifying time? He's currently sitting P1. P1 is where he will stay. No improvements for the current pole sitter.
What a fantastic lap though. Again, really understand, you can really see, especially with the last corner, the drop off that happens, and that's where the twitch comes in. That's where the small little counter correction, because when you're going into the corner, you lose a bit of that grip within the tyre as the track falls away from you. So while it is flat out, Dan Webster though, look at that. I've just had a quick look, and Dan Webster has just gone pole position by a 1/10 of a second. Only man currently in the 51s. I mean, all being well though, Simon Edwards, he's very, very close to getting that 51 as well. Doesn't need to be a lot, does it, to be fair? If anything, I think it needs to be 100. If we have a look at their best lap times currently in qualifying. So, Simon Edwards only needs 12 thousandths of a second, and he will also be into the 51. There's a few people still making some moves at this moment in time, but I don't think there's much more movement to go. Again, if you find 0.2 of a second, you'll end up finding possibly 3 or even 4 positions in some instances here. So realistically, again, I mean, you know, the top 5 separated by 0.6 of a second. Martin Booker currently sitting in P5, so a respectable drive from him that we have seen as well. And then from 6th onwards, again, it's just so close. The remainder of the field almost within that 2-second margin, you know, within 6-7 tenths of one another. So what we may find is we may see a bit of a break in the top 5, and then we may also see sort of that between sort of almost 6th and 15th. That might just be a continuing race that will just go on.
Yes, that really could. So, and of course, let's not forget how strong the slipstream is at the Suzuka circuit. You're flat out for so much of the lap, flat out all the way through into Degna 1 and Degna 2. Okay, there's just such a great view to see the cars sending it through their maximum commitment need. Then, of course, out of the hairpin, you're flat out into Spoon, and then out of Spoon, you're flat out all the way down the back stretch through 130R before you come into the heavy braking zone of that final chicane, the Casio triangle. So plenty of opportunities for drivers to maybe mix things up, have a good race, and see what they can do from their evening into the final few moments of qualifying. 20 minutes in this qualifying session that the drivers can use, and we've just gone through 17 of them now. And of course, drivers are able to finish the lap they are on once the checker flag has been waved, but no more than that. So I'm going to look at Tim Erkuk. He's got not too much time to find before he's up ahead of the likes of Martina Ward and Oliver Ettridge. Oliver Ettridge is actually, I think, a new name for me. I'm not sure if he was here last week.
Yes,
then.
Yes, he was here last week. This will be Oliver's second round, which I'm sure he'll be again a respectable performance currently in P13. But yes, that would be why this would be the first time that you've seen Oliver, and I believe we also have Mike Busson is also a newcomer to this series as well.
Good. So plenty of drivers wanted to get in on the action here in the UK&I Radical Race Series. Just look at that. He gets the rear slightly kicked out of the exit of the hairpin, but that just shows he's getting on the power nice and early. And like I've been saying, obviously, he's just trying to build that momentum, get on the throttle nice and early and see what you can get from the end. Dan Webster is on pit exit, so we'll be looking to come through for one final qualifying lap. I think he might just about be able to get through in enough time, but it could be touch and go for current Pulsar to see if he can improve. Looking at Simon Edwards as well through the sectors, not looking too magnificent. And yep, Simon Edwards pulls off into the pits. So nearest challenger is likely to be Dominic Lang-Webb for pole position. But what can Tim Adcock do? We're just going to follow him through this last half of his flying lap. Again, drivers just trying to, I think, work out the line through that final chicane. Some drivers opting for a little bit of the curb, others opting for not so much, others opting for a bit more of the curb. Obviously, depends, of course, how you have the car set up, but no improvements there for Tim Adcock. So we'll follow Dominic Lang-Webb into the front chicane. Look at how much curb he's taken. That sort of unsettles the car a little bit, means he can't turn in for the left-hander as much as he wants to. Runs wide and has to get on the throttle a little bit later. Is this going to be an improvement, though, from current fourth place qualifier? No, there won't. So this is going to be Dominic's final attempt in this qualifying session to try and get up, maybe onto the front row, maybe snatch an amazing pole position. So we have to go to Dave Kirkman now, just coming through the last part of the S's before you go into the Dunlop curve all the way through. Careful not to go too wide on the exit. As soon as you touch the smallest bit of grass on the exit, the cars just want to spin around and absolutely end you. So Dave Kirkman doing a good job to avoid that.
I think realistically as well,
to see how these cars. Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say that Dave Kirkman, actually, his last lap did slot him into that 1 second behind Dan Webster. And I think a second round here, again, if you're able to relatively, there is the checkered flag gone. Has Dan Webster got across the line? No, Dan Webster has not. So that is Dan Webster done and dusted. He wasn't able, I mean, I don't think he's going to be all that fussed, because he will be able to clinch that pole position, because Simon Edwards won't be able to get another lap in either. Yeah, but Dave Kirkman's last lap did put him into that top 6 position currently. So within a second, and if you can keep some slipstream here, that might be might give you an opportunity to carry on with the front field, with the front 5. Just notice that. We'll have to see how that pans out.
Yeah, we'll see how all of this goes ahead. And of course, the race is, I think this night it is a 13-lap race, which means we'll around about get 20 or so minutes of action here this evening. So we'll be able to look forward to seeing how the drivers will be able to navigate all of this. A difference in strategy, of course, being used across all of the rounds. I remember, I think Sebring, they went for a different format when the races were slightly longer. This time I think we've gone a bit shorter, haven't we, Dan?
Yes, we absolutely indeed. Sorry, you broke up for a second. I couldn't quite hear what you were saying there.
Oh, sorry, that might have been my internet, but I was just talking about how the race is going to be 13 laps, which is a bit different to what we saw at Sebring when the races were a bit longer. And this is just, I think, a sign that the format's being sort of tested out, maybe a little bit for next season.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to be there's going to be some changes going forward into the next season, I'm sure. Which, lucky enough, we're just finalising. But all in well, we're going to be continuing with the broadcast package with the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series, which will be absolutely fantastic. Which again, we're both incredibly looking forward to, and all of us at ASR. Yeah, there's going to be some slightly different changes, which is great. Again, it's good to see that the series developing and adapting. Also, as well, like Oliver Etheridge and Mike Busson, drivers getting involved in this series towards the end of the season as well, again, shows the level of the commitment that people are wanting to go into. It's fantastic to see, because normally you'd want to get in early in the season. So people are prepping for that next season already. It's things like that, which is, I just find again, it's just absolutely fantastic to be able to have. And this will, as the seasons progress, we are in season 3, obviously, as the seasons progress, what we're going to find, and I'm hoping, is this can become the staple for everything Radical Race Series, maybe even overtaking the actual official league, in the official Series and iRacing, which I think will be a fantastic achievement. And I don't think it's really that far off getting there, to be fair, now.
Oh, I think so. So we'll be able to see exactly how that will come through and how this will all develop in the coming weeks and months. But obviously, like we say, glad to have them on board for all of the action on Absolute Sim Racing. Another thing to mention, though, before we do all of this, is thank you, of course, to series sponsors Hype Automotive, Island Racing, and of course the charity that the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series is supporting, Live Life, a fantastic charity all based around mental health Links to that down in the description of this broadcast. But we do have, of course, the qualifying results and the grid to run you through, and it will be Dan Webster starting from pole position on the front row. Excellent effort. Sees him go a 10th faster than second place Simon Edwards. Look out for him trying to challenge into turn 1, however. Paul LeMay third, Dominic Langweb fourth, making up the second row. Martin Booker is fifth, ahead of Dave Kirkman, with Brown seventh, James Child eighth, Dave Dowson in ninth, with Michael LeMay rounding out the top 10. Ray Peasley is able to qualify 11th, starting just ahead of Oliver Ettridge on the 6th row of the grid. He'll be starting in 12th place. Then 13th, unlucky for some. Will it be unlucky for Jamie Thomas? That's where Jamie will be starting, of course, ahead of Martina Ward, Tim Adcock, Jamie Bird, Stuart Mathers, Mike Busson, and Ryan Clark. That is it, Dan. The grid is set for an excellent evening's racing here at Suzuka. The 11th week of the UK&I Radical Race Series is about to get underway. All the cars are on the grids. The lights are coming on. You can hear the engine notes rising, flames being spat out the rear, and we go racing here. And it is a good start from Dan Webster, but Simon Edwards as well. Excellent job from him. And yeah, good job highlighting that. Martin Booker off on an absolute charge, already up into third place. A wonderful getaway for Martin Booker. Dan Webster leads the pack, though, as we would have expected from his qualifying performance through the S's. Paul LeMay all the way in fourth. Trying to just keep in touch for the moment and try and find a way through, maybe coming through the Dunlop curve, making sure to get the throttle nice and early, get that boost built up and power your way through. Look at this, listen to the Radicals roar, an amazing sound, and thankfully I think most, or if not all of the cars have got through these opening few corners nice and safe as well.
Yes, they have indeed, absolutely. As we come through down into the game for the first time, all single file here that we've seen. No one's trying to make any movements nice and early, although Michael LeMay has gone a little bit wide and costed a position to Oliver Ettridge. So he's got a... Bless me, sneezing halfway through a commentary broadcast. That's not ideal, is it? So Michael LeMay has lost that position. Oliver Ettridge is going to have to pull back and try and gain that position back side by side. Though coming down into the latter half of the circuit is Mike Busson and Tim Adcock. And Tim Adcock has to back out. So Mike Busson goes up into P16. It started already to even out at the top step of the field, but this is where it gets interesting, because the first time people are utilising the slipstream that we've got here, and I'll tell you one possible slipstream here is Ray Peasley versus Michael LeMay. Oh, that was close. Michael LeMay just about handing it round the outside of what would be an outside and a non-optimum line. Fair play indeed. Had a couple of offs though. Dave Kirkman and James Child have both gone off. We'll see if we can get replays of those. I wonder, a little bit too heavy into the brakes, or possibly cold tyres at that last corner, Ed.
Yeah, that could be the case, unfortunately. Good to see, though, in the YouTube chat, Phil Glover wishing everyone a safe and enjoyable race. Hope you'll enjoy all of the action here on Absolute Sim Racing, Phil. Shame to not see you out racing, but hopefully we'll see you having the season finale. You'll be able to duke it out with the likes of Paul LeMay, who we just saw trying to come through, and this is actually James Child. Is this losing out? Oh, just a lock of the brakes. The car snaps on him and he has to go through off of the circuit. Rejoins license safety off of the racing line, but that's got him a huge slowdown that he's having to serve, and that's why he lost a lot of time. Tim Adcock, oh, well held, just keeping it out of the wall. Oh, my word.
Wow.
Who was that just came through and needs a new pair of race overalls?
I couldn't quite see who that was, but all I know is they should be doing the lottery as soon as they finish this race. That was something that was very, that could have gone two ways, and that could have gone very good or very bad. Luckily, it went the latter half, it went the former, and it went very, very well. Just about missing the incident there from Tim Adcock. But fair play to Tim as well for, imagine just sort of jumping on the brakes, stamping on them. So, the earlier you can recognise that, the better.
Wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It manages to keep it out of.
Great.
Exactly.
Sorry,
and, when you get the. The earlier you can recognise when you've lost when you've lost the car or something, you can just slam on the brakes, the better it will be. James Child is actually trying to now come back on Michael LeMay. It's going to be side by side. Can LeMay hold it round the outside like he did last lap? No, he can't this time around. So James Child, a very, very brave move going into 130R, manages to make it stick. So that is going to allow James Child obviously to move up into the top 10. Ray Peasley has had a bit of an off as well. I wonder if that was going into, I believe it was going into the Casio Triangle. So that was a bit of pace off. Yet again, up ahead, Paul May is having a great battle with Dom Lang Webb. And then who is that behind as well? I think this train here that we've seen, you've got Dave Dowson. Well, Jeremy Thomas is leading this sort of smaller train here. You've got Dave Dowson, Chris Kane, Jamie Byrne, and Mike Busson all within this pack here. If two of these people start battling, then that's really going to push, obviously, everyone. That's just going to concertina everyone up. Someone is in the pits. Can't quite see who that is. That's Stuart Mathers. He's had an incident. Let's have a look at what happened there. Is it going through possibly into turn 1? Well, it looks to be going into turn 1. Is it just a little bit... just a little bit too fast on the way in. And then, unfortunately, I wonder if he's suffering from possible mechanical issues. Or hardware issues, I should say.
Turns in, it doesn't work, and you can see it looks like Rexy comes into the pits. There was also, I think, a big moment for Graham Brown, who's dropped back quite a few places. Oh my word, Mike Busson. Great job locking up and avoiding contact, but I think Christopher Kane has been involved in something there as he's dropping down the order. I think we might have just missed that on the onboard shot we had of Mike Busson here. So we'll try and go to replay and try and figure out what happened. There was a send into the corner where he starts to lock up. This is Chris Kane now coming in, sending it through. And just getting into the rear of another car. But he comes off worse and then has a collision with Martina Ward.
Martina Ward, unfortunately, another little bit of bad luck there. It's a big shame for Martina Ward. Hopefully, both of those drivers didn't gain too much damage there. So yeah, Chris Kane just a little bit. Again, it's the rejoin, trying to get your car sorted as much as possible. Yeah, it's just unfortunate. Obviously, Martina Ward was coming around at that particular moment. Obviously, no intentions there for any contact to be made from Chris. It's just a little bit of a shame of where that contact was. Paul May still having a battle with Dom Lang Webb. This is continuing on and on and on. And I think Dom Lang Webb is pressuring hard at this moment in time that we're having a look at. Very hard in terms of pressure. And I wonder if this is actually going to be something that is going to slow up, because Dave Kirkman, see, it's 3.7 seconds behind. That's not too far in realistic terms, especially if these two continue to battle the way that they are. Dave Kirkman has got some pace. So there's a possibility, if these guys battle, Dave Kirkman's going to catch up and be on a run for a possible top 4.
Yeah, that could be a very good way of getting something good to cheer about out of this evening. Paul May looking to get into the slipstream of Martin Booker, maybe even snatch a podium just yet. You'll never know what can happen as Dominic Lang Webb really closing in now. You can see how strong the slipstream is for him. And of course, this is an open setup round, so drivers using different levels of wing, different amounts of drag being gained as Dave Dowson. That back of the car is not looking very pretty, and it's certainly not going to be looking any healthier after he backs up into the wall. Okay, so this was probably already an incident that happened coming out of the second Degner, and then coming in, does he just get... I think he carries a bit too much speed in, and that was what caused the rear of the car to pendulum around. After that, he just sort of keeps out of the throttle, backs it up, and backs it into the wall. Unfortunately, that's where a lot of that damage came from. There's another moment, a car stop, and that's Chris Kane. Chris Kane out of the race. So let's have a look. He doesn't seem to be anyone near him. Is it just a matter of getting on the throttle a little bit too early? Yeah. Maybe on the grass. Just on the throttle too early onto the grass. Tries to collect it, keeps his foot in it, unfortunately, and ouch. I think that's the only way you can describe that. It's just a big ouch, really, because that's a lot of damage. And while there is a fast repair drivers can take, they only get one anymore, and you'll be really up the creek without a paddle.
Well, I think, yes, it's up the creek without a paddle, and also a sinking boat as well. It's gone from bad to worse for Chris Kane. Though I'm sure that's going to be something that obviously isn't going to be great. Martina Ward's actually just had a small off, so let's have a look at what happened there coming into the final chicane, or just tags the brakes ever so slightly. It manages to get it done. There will be a slowdown there, obviously, to consider, but I'm sure that will go relatively quickly. It's just a small little off, but Martina Ward up still in a respectable P14, a couple of seconds behind Dave Dowson. So that gap may well come down. We'll have to keep an eye out. We're already down into lap 5, bear in mind, so we haven't all got that long. Dan Webster leading at the front. I mean, he's been having a race on his own accord. He's pulled a 1.6 second gap away from Simon Edwards, and I tell you what, again, it's a respectable time in those 5, only in 5 laps. And we're seeing that Webster is lapping consistently around about 2 or 2.5 tenths quicker than Simon Edwards at this moment in time. Although, this could play in possibly into the hands of Simon Edwards. Is he driving the car as hard? Is he trying to conserve a bit of tyres? We know that Dan Webster runs, he tends to like running a little bit of Paul LeMay's had a wide line going through 130R. That has cost him some time and ultimately cost him a position to Dom Lang Webb. Something that Dave Kirkman didn't want. He wanted them to battle more and more. But I think Dom Lang Webb has got the pace to now pull away by the looks.
Yeah, I'm thinking so as well. But I'll tell you what, it's been an absolute testament to the ability of Dan Webster. We said at the start of the broadcast just what a technical and demanding circuit this is. And we've seen already drivers getting caught out by the twisty turns of Suzuka, but Dan's been very consistent, very quick, and also based on qualifying, we thought this would be a very close affair, but I think it's just Dan's consistency of churning out those lap times has allowed him to build this margin to well over 1.5 seconds. Simon Edwards, great stuff from him, but there's not that big of a gap if you are Jamie Bird and Mike Busson, because, well, the pair of them very close together, aren't they? Mike Busson under half a second away. I think this is a fight for 10th place, I believe. Dan shaking up there. You can see the 11th place Mike Busson trying to find a way through, perhaps.
Possibly. Again, we'll have to see how it develops. Here is the battle on your screen now. And Mike Busson is the car behind. Jamie Bird is the car ahead. Dives up the inside. We know that Mike Busson has actually been quite late on the brakes. We've seen that move that he tried to make earlier on. Didn't quite work in his favour. I thought the brakes up. He's got some confidence going into the hairpin, which I'm sure will pay dividends as long as you can get close enough. And if you're confident on the brakes, it's a very, very good way.
I'm having a look and I'm thinking Mike might be running a slightly higher wing. You can see how much time he takes out of him through the corners, how much easier it is to get the car turned. But then look at this. He's right up behind Jamie Bird. He's going to have a good run. But Jamie Bird, I think, is just going to have the legs on him. You can see now that's where it starts to tell. There's still a bit of an overlap, though, coming into 130. So this is the best chance for Mike Busson to try and make the move. And you know what? He's got it. Cracking stuff there, Mike. Great overtake. And now that he's got clear air ahead, he's going to really focus on building that advantage, coming through the Casio triangle, getting that good exit. I think this is going to be a good way for Mike to try and hold on to 10th place, because Jamie Bird is very quick down the straights, but he won't be close enough into turn 1. And then you've got the S's section where you need all of the downforce that Mike Busson will have. This, I think, is going to be Mike Busson sealing down 10th position, barring any sort of mistake.
Quite possibly. We'll see how it pans out for the final remaining laps. Ryan Clark is going to have a little bit of an off. What happens here? Is it going to be another tag of the brakes? It is indeed. So just another tag of the brakes there, unfortunately, for Ryan Clark. Jamie Thomas has also had a bit of a moment. So let's see what happened with Jamie Thomas. Just coming through. Garrett on the exit of turn 2. Ooh. Manages to, I tell you what, minimal time loss there. Fair play for Jamie Thomas, because that could have been very, very nasty. Tyres,
though, through the S's, not exactly what you want, and we might start to see that gap come down as Mike Busson, I think, has a moment. Jamie Bird closes back in. All of a sudden, what we thought was a done deal for this fight could still have some life in it yet. So, what can Jamie Bird do to close through, close down? You can see the time coming through as Dominic Lang-Webb, I think, has had a bit of a moment there. He's dropped out of 4th place. Now into 5th. That's Paul May up into 4th.
Absolutely. Paul May doing a very, very stellar job at this moment in time. He's got 3.3 seconds of a gap to himself and Martin Buck, although he is lapping a little bit slower. Dom Lang-Webb, though, has actually just put in one of the fastest laps that we've seen.
Yeah.
He's actually put in the fastest lap of the race. The fastest lap of the race has just been set by Lang-Webb.
He made a mistake on this lap, and I want to see if we can maybe get a replay of that, because he's dropped back all of a sudden behind Paul LeMay. In fact, here we go now. Here is the moment.
Oh.
Oh, just very, very twitchy through Spoon and into the wall. Big hit. How much damage has that dealt? Is there suspension damage or is it just aero? If there's suspension, he's going to be so slow and he's going to be struggling that much that maybe Dave Kirkman could fancy a chance later on in the race. 8 laps gone. 13 that need to be completed before we'll be able to know. And oh, Dominic Webb, we've just come. This is live. He's had another mistake and he's lost out just a touch of grass on turning. The scene lost not 1 place but 2. As Dave Kirkman and James Child come through into 5th and 6th place. Dominic Lang-Webb, he's going to be absolutely kicking himself. He was up there in 4th, and these last few laps have really hurt him now as he's down in 7th. And oh my word, who's that slide off the background? That's Oliver Ettridge.
It's all kicking off now, isn't it? It's all kicking off. Let's see, we've got a couple of replays definitely to have a look at here. I wonder if Oliver Ettridge just got a little bit too aggressive onto the throttle. No, on the brakes as well. So we've seen this a couple of times throughout this race. And I think what this is realistically, when we have a look, and if you were to have a look at this, in terms of when you're moving forward, when you're actually racing out on track, as the tyres start to wear off, as the fuel starts to go, you can definitely see that Lang-Webb is struggling with the tyres here. He's struggling with the aero as well, the lack of aero, because there will be some significant damage now from that hefty hit at Spoon last lap. So Jamie Thomas is the person now behind 5.9 seconds. That's going to be a bit tricky to catch up with. But one of the gaps as well, Mike Busson. Mike Busson is now only 6/10 behind. So I think realistically, I think what I would probably suggest to those people again, and suggest people that are having a little bit of issues on the brakes, is to just knock the brake bias back a couple of clicks, as that will just move. Sorry, not the brake bias, but that will make it even more twitchy. No, move the brake bias a couple of clicks forward. And what that's going to do, that will stabilize the braking at least to a little bit. You won't be able to necessarily brake as much, and the car won't rotate as nice, and it won't rotate as well. But you will gain a little bit more car control. That's one of the things I would just say there. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a couple of clicks. It will make a surprising amount of difference.
Yeah, it is surprising how much. I've only recently discovered the joys of changing the brake bias throughout an entire lap. Usually I just have one brake bias for a lap, but sometimes I've recently been able to change it into the corners, and it does do a lot, especially coming into, say, something like this Suzuka circuit into the first corner. Bring it a little bit further forward just to keep it nice and stable through the right-hand kink and then slowing it down. And then maybe shifting it back a little bit, maybe coming into somewhere like the Casio Triangle where you want to get that extra bit of rotation coming through the slow speed. It's amazing, really, Dan, how much that can help you.
Absolutely. Brake bias it's a forgotten art of being able to do it. This is what you see a lot of the time. Actually, I'm going to interrupt myself here because Mike Busson and Jamie Thomas, they're having a really good battle here. I think, unfortunately, Busson just got a little bit slower out of the chicane, out of the hairpin, so that's costing a little bit of time. Brake bias is a lost art. You look at F1 drivers and you see how many times they adjust their brake bias when on circuit and going throughout the lap. It's something like, in some instances, it's possibly, it's 12, 13 times over the course of a lap. And it's something that can give you so much more control than you initially think, and it can give you so much more of a balance change than you realise. So if you are watching this, give your brake bias adjustments a bit of a go. If you find that the rear's rotating on you a little bit too much, just knock the brake bias forward a little bit, and you'll find it will give you so much more stability. It's amazing how it works. Dom Lang-Webb has actually now just got past James Child all round the outside. We need to have another look at that, I think, there, Ed, don't we? Because that would have been a cracking move.
Oh yeah, that would have been so. We'll have a look here and see exactly how all of that unfolded. Here we go. Here's the instant replay. I know it was just slow off of the exit, a mistake from James Child. I've seen Dominic Lang-Webb come back through, even though his car is damaged and it's looking a little bit worse for wear. He's still going strong. Look at this. Look at how close these two are through the S's. Jamie Thomas and Mike Busson. We're on board with Mike now, just to see him trying different lines, getting a little bit of clear air for a brief moment, not getting dirty air at all. And now all of a sudden, look at how much the car washes on turn in this dirty air. The cars are very sensitive on the downforce side of things, but now coming through the two Degners, look at how much more confidence, bravery Mike Busson has on his car just to send it into the corner, really closing in that gap. And now into the hairpin they will go. Is this going to be a nice apex? Yes, it is from Mike Buston, but he has to check up a little bit on the throttle. Not able to close in as much. And once more, Mike Buston running, I think, again, a little bit too much wing in comparison to Jamie Thomas, which means he doesn't quite get the same straight line speed. Allows Jamie some breathing space coming onto this long back straight. And look at the apex there from Jamie. That's going to help him massively. Coming out of Spoon Curve all the way down, they will go through into 130R. As we see another battle starting to materialize. I think this is James Child and Dominic Pang-Webb still not done yet up there, as all of a sudden it's all kicking off. Graham Brown trying to close in on Jamie Bird. Everyone getting nice and close as there's a cloud of smoke up in front. And that, I think, is just a back mark. It could be Ryan Clark.
I think it was, yes, Ryan Clark just parking it on the outside, of the Casio Triangle, not making sure that there's nothing involved there. A three-way battle now being brought up. This is between Jamie Bird, Graham Brown and Oliver Ettridge, and I wonder, is it going to be Brown's turn to go up the inside of turn one? Bird's hanging around the outside there. He doesn't want to give the position up, but he's going to have to because he's got to watch out for Ettridge. He's going to come around the outside out on the exit of turn two, all going into turn three. Is he going to hold it? He's got the inside. Oliver Ettridge,
wow.
Fair play to you, sir. That was a fantastic move, well timed as well. That was a very, very good move indeed. That's something that you don't necessarily see every day. The timing of that was absolutely impeccable. And I wonder if he's going to use this momentum now to try and pass Graham Brown. He's close. He's really, really close. He needs to try and make a move now and capitalise on that forward momentum that he took going past Jamie Bird, because that would have caught Graham Brown's attention, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think actually as well, Oliver was trying to balance a little bit of oversteer. I think I saw a little bit of a twitch coming through turn two as they went side by side. And both drivers getting the rear kicked out a little bit. I think that was almost a double spin in sympathy. Synchronized sliding at the rear as Oliver Ettridge could have really capitalized, but I think was thrown off just by how wide Graham Brown went into the hairpin. So now all three will go through Spoon Curve and try and focus on a nice exit. Oliver Ettridge seems to get nice and early on the power. Does that hamper him off the exit? Might have had to get out of the throttle just a little bit, but now look at this, trying to find a way through. Graham Brown weaving left, right and centre, not wanting to give any slipstream. Look at how much they're chasing that extra incremental bit of speed, fighting their way through 130R and now into the Casio Triangle as these drivers are about to start lap 12 of 13. Oh, and it's a good run out of the corner there at the Casio Triangle for Oliver Ettridge. But look at how sort of loose his car is on the throttle. He's trying to find a way through, powering out the car. Not stable at the rear, but it is nice and planted coming into the corners, which is how he's able to close in so much. Let's come through turn one and two. Gets the apex hooked up beautifully there.
That was nice.
Absolutely amazing. And then that's going to carry him in good stead all the way through. The S's a little bit wide there. Again, a little bit wide, but I think he's just having to go wide on account of this dirty situation. Oh, he's going to try and snatch a move there. There was a little bit of an opening, just the smallest of chances, and he's going to try and look for it. Now around the outside through the Dunlop curve, Oliver Ettridge loves an outside move. That's the second one he's done in 2 laps, and now he finds himself up into top 10, into 10th place, and now he's going to look to try and streak away, which he does through the 2 Dignas. It's amazing how much more downforce you get when you're not following the car behind. I think Oliver is just finding that out now.
Absolutely, very, very true indeed. Unfortunately, we've just seen Jamie Thomas and Mike Buston have both had incidents, and because of this, Mike Buston has actually now got ahead of Jamie Thomas, so they both spin going into the chicane. There's one, and where's the two? Oh, interesting. What on earth happened there? So
he hit the tyres, went on the throttle, and that was it. He had to just sort of lock the brakes to keep the car pointing in the right direction, which is a smart thing to do, to be fair, Dan. I've done that numerous times in a GTE. When the car sort of is about to break traction, you can feel the slide coming on the exit, slamming on the brakes, keeping the car steady, and then when it starts to slow down, slowly picking up the throttle. It does wonders for you in terms of not losing out that much time, only just cooking your tyres a bit.
Yeah, exactly. This is the things where you've got to be nice, and you've got to actually make sure that self-preservation normally kicks in. Some members did have a bit of a moment. That's why the gap is now only 4 tenths between himself and Martin Booker, and that was why. And then, unfortunately, Dom Langweb, fighting the car, fighting the aero, has had another moment into Spoon. Is it the same again? I think it's going to be. No, it's actually going to be on the exit curve this time. Oh,
whoa!
Ah, dear. Such a shame. And Dom Langweb now dropped down into P7. Dan
I
Webster,
think
though.
there's steering damage.
Yeah, that would definitely be something that's the end of race, unfortunately, there, or end of any more possible positions. But Webb respectably trying to bring it back up. Coming home, still currently in P7. He's got a 6.5 second gap. As long as he can just nurse it home, that'll be a position. That'll be something that I'm sure he's going to be. He's not going to be too fussed with, because it was the best of a bad situation. I think this has been.
Another thing I've just noticed is that Martin Booker has suddenly closed up onto Simon Edwards, so a battle for second place has started to hot up here, Dan. You can see, look at this, Martin Booker really on a mission. He's kept his tyres good, but is it too little, too late? He'll get up behind Simon Edwards and try and find a way through, but I think Simon Edwards coming through 130 will have just enough an advantage coming through the Casio Triangle, so it's going to all be about Martin Booker and the exit he can gain, trying to maybe get it across the line. But we will have to focus now to the front and to race leader and race winner, Dan Webster. What a drive from him. He takes the checkered flag, weaving in celebration. An excellent drive from the 111, who takes P1 at the end of this race here at Suzuka. Simon Edwards did in the end finish ahead of Martin Booker to complete the podium, with Oliver Ettridge, who actually, I think, is trying to find a way through now on Jamie Thomas. They're coming into the Castle Triangle. A light lock-up from Graham Brown behind. That puts him out of the equation. And there's a good run from Oliver Ettridge, but it won't be enough as they come across the line. It will be Jamie Thomas to finish 8th, Oliver Ettridge in 9th. Good stuff, though, from Dominic Langweb to finish in 7th at the end, considering the amount of damage he had coming through that final lap to stay strong. Martina Ward there finishing in 12th. She was caught up in a few incidents, and a lot of time when we saw an incident, she was involved when she wasn't really one to blame. Unfortunately, she, I think, just had a bit of an unlucky race, but there's still more to come. There's still another race on the cars, isn't there, Dan? So chances for drivers to really try and make a name for themselves.
Absolutely, no, there is indeed, and you've got to make sure that you're in a position where you can. You got to put it behind. You got to learn from it and then move on. Obviously, again, it's difficult to be in a position where instances or incidents don't involve it in some of this that you instigated. You're just caught up in. It is a shame, and it's something that's very, very. Again, I've been in that situation before, and it is very, very tricky to try and sort of forget about it and to push forward. But with one round to go, I think this is definitely going to be somewhat of a learning experience in a while, and taking some more information on board for the final round. And then moving forward into the next season, head down, crack on, learnt a lot, and then you can hit the ground running going into season 4, which is only a couple of weeks away, bear in mind, because this follows the calendar. This follows the iRacing calendar. So we've only got next week a week break, and then we're back straight at it again.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing what will happen in the next round, but as what a round we were treated to here at Suzuka. Action all the way through. It never disappoints. And we were able to see excellent fighting up and down the field. The podium came close at the end, but it was settled between Simon Edwards and Martin Booker. You can see the results now. Confirmation there that Dan Webster takes the race victory. Also pole position in addition. So an excellent effort from the 11 HPE automotive driver. Simon Edwards finishing in 2nd, just able to keep Martin Booker at bay at the end. Paul LeMay 4th, Dave Kirkman 5th, James Charles 6th, Dominic Langweb, a lot of damage, but still came through for a respectable 7th place. Ahead of Jamie Thomas, Oliver Ettridge, and Graham Brown. Jamie Bird just missing out on the top 10 in 11th place, ahead of Martina Wood, Tim Ad, Michael LeMay, with Mike Busson, Ray Paisley, Ryan Clark, 15th, 16th, 17th, all finishing one lap down. Dave Dawson, 18th, 6 lap down, then Christopher Kane, and 19th and 20th. But with all of that, Dan, are we have any drivers joining us for a post-race interview? I think we do. We can have a chat now to Dan, race victor for this evening here at Suzuka. And Dan, that was a relatively controlled drive from you, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. Pretty pleased with that.
Just talking to you, were you looking forward to this evening at Suzuka's? Because you've shown good pace all evening. Close in qualifying, but in the race, I think the consistency really just top trumps, didn't it?
Yeah, I was looking forward to the race, actually. I didn't expect to get pole at all, because Simon's definitely had a tenth or two on me in practice. And I tweaked my setup a little bit to favour the race, because it's a really rear limited circuit. And I felt like I had maybe a better race setup than Simon. And I thought if I can qualify behind him and possibly hang on to him towards the end of the race, I might have a chance of passing him. So I was really surprised to out-qualify him, to be honest.
So in terms of the set, were you running maybe a higher downforce or lower downforce in terms of that? Because we saw a lot of drivers trying different strategies, trying maybe higher downforce, others trying lower. What was yours approach to this?
I was on zero wing, and I think Simon was as well, because we were both in a practice session earlier in the week, and we were both doing pretty much the same times on high or low downforce. But I think for the race, low downforce is better because it gives you the straight line speed. So I didn't want to risk a low downforce setup, because if I qualified behind him with low downforce, I'd never get past him.
Yeah, fair enough. But it was a excellent little race from yourself, of course, commanding from the front, leading every single lap pole position as well. Is there anyone you want to thank here on Absolute Sim Racing?
I definitely want to thank John for not joining this race, because it made my life a bit easier. Not that it was easy, but 50% less difficult than it could have been. So yeah, thanks, John.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. I'm sure John will be happy to hear that when he watches the broadcast back. And thank you, of course, congratulations on your race victory.
Thank you very much.
So that was Dan Webster, race victor here at Suzuka. We can bring in now second place Simon Edwards to have a word with Dan Handover.
And here
if you are there, Simon.
I am indeed. Oh, is Simon still here? Simon, can you hear us?
Yeah, I haven't disappeared this week.
No worries at all. Well, Simon, good to catch up again. Congrats on P2. I mean, that was, again, towards the end, obviously, we saw that small little mistake, which obviously brought up the gap between yourself and Martin Booker. What were the tyres found like as well? Was it just a bit deep going into the last chicane? Was it tyres were going off or something like that?
Yeah, I was running the lowest downforce set I could get, which is a bit understeery, so I was already having to look after the front tyres a bit, and I was trying to push Dan, and I was just getting into the edge of his draft now and again, so I was getting a bit of extra push, and I was trying to just push those last couple of laps, and I pushed too hard, and I big lock up, which you probably saw into the triangle. Is it called the triangle there?
Cascade triangle, yeah.
Yeah, and then I just couldn't get my rhythm back, and I kept locking up again on the same tyre in different corners.
Well, again, it was nice to see again the differences in terms of, in terms of pace and in terms of setups that we've seen, because some people were running really, really low setup. We saw that. I think James Charles was also having a good battle with Mike Buston at one point, and it was just the differences in the setup that we saw was fantastic to see. You see half of the lap, catching up, and then half of the lap being taken away because they've got higher downforce, and it swings and roundabouts. You were sticking with Dan for a fair while, and we're catching him up towards the end as well. I think relentless pace from Dan Webster, which is great to see. But we also see again some similar pace from yourself. One more round to go though next week, and then that's the season over. What are we going to be? Are we focusing already on to the next season? Are we going to, again, do anything different possibly for next season? Are we going to try and adjust, try and experiment with some more setup changes, do we reckon? Or just sort of much of the similar?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just slowly getting better at driving in the draft, really. I think the wash on this car, I think, is a bit too much, especially when you've got cars of such similar pace. I think it just seems a little bit too much, but I'm getting better at driving into that draft, so I'll just try and improve that next season, especially my first lap. I always struggle on the first lap, so I'll try and improve those next season, I think. Yeah. And I might go around and cut Dan's internet off next week, and let's see if I can get further on the championship.
No, well, like I said, it's been great for us to come in and to be able to, to witness it and to watch it, and it's something that we're very excited to have next season as well.
Yeah, let's hope there's a bit more action in the next race, because I've got a feeling everybody was stuck in my position there. Even when I was in trouble, that Martin couldn't really get to me behind, even though I was in trouble at the end there.
Yeah, there was some really, really good battles that we saw. I think, again, it is one of the ones where, being again in the position of, when you're going around and you have got that sort of aero wash, it can be a little bit tricky, especially with the high speed circuits. So we did see that a little bit. We definitely saw more action, I believe, at Oulton last week. Obviously a slower track in a way, and a narrower track as well, but still great racing that we've seen as always.
Yeah, but I always love Suzuka, so even hot lapping it is fun for me, so I still enjoyed it.
Good, so everyone's got that track, haven't they? Everyone's got that track. Right, fantastic stuff. Well, Simon, we'll look forward to catching up with you again, possibly in similar circumstances next week. Anyone like to give a quick shout out to on the broadcast?
I'd like to give a shout out to Chris for keeping this running, and next season, like I said, we'll have a good season. I think we've got more people here, even though there wasn't so many here today, but there is actually more members of the league, so I think we'll see more drivers next season as well. So shout out to Chris.
Brilliant stuff, fantastic. Well, Simon, good to catch up and look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
There we go. Simon Edwards, P2 of course racing. Ed, one more interview by the looks, and it is with Martin. That's not Martin Walker, actually it's Martin Booker, apologies.
Yes, so we can bring in Martin Booker for a quick chat after an excellent race here at Suzuka that saw him take third position. Martin, you must be happy with that.
Yeah, very happy. A bit surprised and very happy.
I know you're saying you're quite happy, but is there a touch that maybe thinks you could have got a little bit more from this? We saw how close you were getting to Simon Edwards in the closing stages. Was there a part of you that wanted to go a little bit more?
Well, that was Simon making mistakes rather than me being faster than him, unfortunately. But yeah, that last lap, or the last couple of laps, I think his tyres were going, and I was managing to pull him back in. And I was just thinking, I just need for him to have one bad exit out of the hairpin, and I've got him. But he has a knack of holding things together when it counts. So yeah, I didn't get him. I'm happy with that though.
Does the nature of your tyre wear maybe play into your hands though? Because I think the final round of the season, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know the officials that this series sort of imitates goes to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. So is that something that maybe we'll be seeing 5 laps around there, and do you reckon your tyres will be good for that?
Oh yeah. I don't normally have any trouble with tyres around there. Places like here, we've got lots of sort of like stop-start, so it's easy to burn your ears up, but Nords is such a sort of flowing track with not many sort of big start-stops. It's easy to manage tyres around there, unless you've got a really twitchy setup.
Okay, so are you confident going into the final round of the championship at the Nordschleife? I think you can grab something good, maybe another podium, maybe a bit more?
Depends who rocks up, I think. If John, Dan and Simon are on form, then yeah, I might be there to pick up the pieces if anything happens, but no, I shall try my best. I do love the Nordschleife.
We'll see if that love will be reciprocated, see if the track will pay you any favours as well, Martin. But before we have to round out the stream for the evening, the floor is yours. Is there anybody you would like to shout out here on Absolute Sim Racing?
To you guys first, because the broadcast is always top notch. I always go and chill out on the sofa with a beer afterwards and watch it all back on your broadcasting. It's always very good. Shout out to Chris, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Martin, and I hope to see you in a week's time at the Nordschleife.
Thanks very much.
So with that, Martin exits the commentary box, and unfortunately, Dan, it's time for us to exit as well. But what an evening's racing here at Suzuka.
It is indeed an evening, a fantastic evening of racing as we have always seen, and something I'm sure we are looking forward to for the finale at Nürburgring, because that's definitely going to spice things up a little bit, isn't it?
If you're there, Dan.
I am.
I'm not
Apologies.
sure
We are indeed. Yes, it's fantastic. It's going to be a cracking race. It's going to be something that I'm sure we are. I'm very much looking forward to. Nürburgring definitely throws a spanner in the works for some drivers, so they've got to make sure they're nice and careful, put the practice in. It's all about just consistency here. The times are almost irrelevant here. You've got to drive obviously to a certain pace, but 70-80% of your maximum pace is absolutely fine at somewhere like that.
Yeah, I'm sorry everyone for that bit of quiet. I think maybe Dan's new kitten might have been causing a bit of a distraction there, so I think that's about time that we have to wrap up for the evening. Thank you all for joining us here at Suzuka for the 11th round of the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series. I've been Ed May. Dan Handover has joined me in the commentary box. So goodbye, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you all next time.